Well, g'day everybody. Welcome to the very first live stream from the new studio. Today we're going to be doing our best to not have the internet completely punk out on us. And we're going to take your questions, just chat a little bit, hang out. I got a bit of wit here. I'd love to share with you a little bit about my weird, unexpected double date that my wife and I had with Tammy and Jordan Peterson last night. Would love to talk about the new studio, guests we've coming up, why I shaved my mustache, everything else besides. But thank you very much for being here. Before we go any further, this beautiful Pints with Aquinas beer Stein is available, but only for the next month. If you go become an annual supporter at mattfrad.locals.com, you'll get to be part of our community. You'll get our live streams 1 week before they hit YouTube. You'll get to ask our guests questions, a whole other thing, a host of things besides. But this beer Stein, after next month, will no longer be a free item. So please go to mattfrad.locals.com right now, become an annual supporter, and when you do, you will get this beautiful, glorious Pints with Aquinas beer Stein. Terrific. All right. Well, last night was really fun. But before I get to that, before I tell you about last night and why it was fun, I wanted to share with you about this. Thanks for the question, EH. Was how was the Chosen premiere? It was awesome. Yeah, so about a week ago, I got asked to go to the red carpet premiere in Dallas for The Chosen. And I'll be honest with you, I think I've seen 2 episodes of The Chosen, maybe, and maybe not even the entire episodes, but I like what I've seen. And my son is really, my 10-year-old son is really into The Chosen. So I said to them, because it was last minute, and I said, I'll come, but only if my son can come. And they said, yes. And then they said, would you do the red carpet thing? And I said, I will do the red carpet thing only if my son can walk the red carpet thing. And they said, yes. So it was a real fun event. Went there and got to meet all of the stars who were all super kind and lovely. And yeah, Peter, my 10-year-old, was just pumped. And I would say that the stars went above and beyond to make themselves available to people who wanted to say hi, get things signed, get photographs and things like that. And it was great to meet Dallas Jenkins. I think I've got his name right. The director of The Chosen. Seems like a wonderful fella. Not least of all because he is a Pints with Aquinas. I wouldn't say fan, but he knows it exists. So I don't know. What does that make him? So it was really fun. Cheers. I wanted to show you a couple of photos and tell you what happened last night. So I've been trying to get Tammy Peterson on the show for a while now. Many of you know that she was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. She was given 10 months to live. She started praying the Holy Rosary, and during her novena, she was healed. And as far as they can tell, no one has survived this cancer except her, which is pretty wild. And so I tried to get her on the show when I had Peterson on the show last year, but something happened with her back, so she couldn't come. And so she said she'd love to come on, and so she was coming on yesterday. And by the way, it'll release to locals first and then YouTube later. But, all right, so I'm getting ready, going to the studio, bringing my beautiful wife with me, because I said to her, darling, there's only been men in this studio for the past 2-3 weeks. I need you to come and tell me how disgusting it is, and please help me. So she came and went, it is disgusting, and I love you, and I will help you. And so thankfully, she turned this studio into something much more presentable. And at the last minute, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, what if Jordan Peterson just shows up? Like, I'm not in a very conservative part of town, I'd say. There are 2 types of coffee shops. There are 2 types of hipster coffee shops. There are Christian hipster coffee shops, and let's just say the opposite of that. And there's a coffee shop walking distance from where I am, and it is not the Christian type. And so I thought, oh, golly, it'll be interesting if he comes and shows his face. All right, so I'm in touch with his security personnel, and so I text him, and I say, is Jordan coming? I thought that was too presumptuous. So I said, is it just you and Tammy? And he wrote back, it's me, Tammy, someone else, and Doc. I thought, I wonder if that means like Dr. Jordan Peterson. He probably won't be here. Well, the car arrives, and sure enough, he gets out of the car. I'm like, all right, we're doing this. And so it was really good to have both Jordan and Tammy in the in the studio. I got a couple of photos for you. So this is kind of behind the scenes photo. This is lovely Tammy, who was such a delight, so beautiful, and she did a wonderful job, and it was lovely to hear from her. She's very smart, very insightful, lovely woman, and so I think you guys are really going to love this episode that came out. But I want to show you this photo of my wife and Jordan. So here's what happened. So Jordan needed to get some work done, and so they agreed that they would sit over where I'm pointing, where you can't see right now, and it was off camera. But there's not a lot of room once you've taken into account these 3 camera angles that aren't on camera. So basically it was Jordan and my wife sitting uncomfortably close for like 2.5 hours. Okay, so here's the photo, and here's what I want to do. I want to post this photo to Instagram. As soon as I'm done this stream, I'm going to post this photo to Instagram. I'm then going to ask you to meme it. The best meme, and the way I'll know is because you will share it with me, tag me, okay? The best meme, I will send a free Pints with Aquinas beer Stein to. I will even pay for shipping. So here is that image. Come on. Come on. That is my good bride Cameron sitting next to Jordan Peterson. It's a great photo. So as soon as this is done, I'm going to put it on Instagram. You guys meme it, share it with me. I'm excited to see all the fun things that you come up with. But my wife said to me after the show that it was a weird double date because we chatted, me and Tammy, for about 2.5 hours. Like, it's a weird double date. Hey, you go on a double date and you and the other guy's spouse sit in a corner and don't talk while I talk to the spouse for 2 hours. But afterwards, it was lovely. We just stood around and chatted about things, and they weren't shallow things. It was really beautiful, and I'm very grateful to Tammy for coming on, and very grateful for Jordan for coming in and just being a trooper. So that was lovely. So, as I say, very much looking forward to what y'all have to say. Well, I do want to take questions from y'all here on YouTube, but before I do, I want to take questions from our local supporters. Again, mattfrad.locals.com. Please check that out. What do we got here? Stay with me. Stay with me. I know you have to be super interesting just to keep people watching. You know, the YouTubers who are like, "G'day, hey, going, welcome so much to YouTube and my video, and today." None of that. I don't have the energy for that anymore. I'm an old man. All right, let's see. What do we got here? Cedric, great name. Well done, Cedric. Says, how happy are you with the new studio? Any regrets, big changes compared to the previous one? Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. I think it looks beautiful. And there's things that we want to tweak, but I'm not going to tell you what they are because I'm afraid that you'll then look at them and feel annoyance about something that you previously weren't aware of. But I'm very happy with this. I think it's definitely an upgrade, and massive thanks to everybody who kind of, became Locals members and supported us to make this happen because it definitely wasn't cheap. Sante Turoli says, was Steve Irwin as much of a legend in Australia as he was in the US? Maybe not as much of a legend, but I would say definitely a legend. But to be fair, I wasn't really spending a lot of time in Australia at his peak. I think I was in Canada for some of that time, so I kind of missed that wave. Alex Burke says, what's the line between wanting to get in shape, cultivate a sense of style, and vanity? That's a really good question. I'm not really sure. I think it's important that, I don't know, my friend John Henry has this idea where he talks about our lesser sins helping us to become virtuous people. And what he means is this, suppose you're a teenage kid and you want to get in shape. And you want to get in shape because, you kind of want to take pride in your appearance and you want the ladies to recognize you. All right, so it's not like a totally noble motive, but it'll get you off your butt, stop playing video games and into the gym. So it's, so it's a net positive, I guess. Yeah, I'm trying to get in shape more and more. Getting older, and so I want to look good as I can. I want to work out. I don't want to be flabby. I've lost like 20 pounds over the last few months, having just eaten meat and drunk whiskey. So I've been really happy with that. So I don't know, man. But because I think it would it would be wrong if somebody complimented you on your appearance and you didn't go, thank you. So I don't think that's the litmus test for whether or not you're being vain or not. So maybe smarter people than me can weigh in on that one. Zoe says, nothing sassy, just wanted to say your show was one of the first things my fiance and I bonded over a year ago when we went on our first date. Come on, Zoe. We're getting married this weekend and would love your prayers. God bless you, Zoe. I promise to include you in my Holy Rosary tonight and your fiance. Dana asks, your favorite guest on the show in 2024. Also, have you ever, in the middle of an interview, felt that maybe your guest is making up stuff, like they're not genuine? All right, it's a fair question. 2024, what was that, last year? Yeah, good, okay. I mean, my answer, I think, is always going to be Dr. Peter Kraft. I mean, my answer would be my wife. I like her the most out of all the guests I've ever had on my show, but Peter Kraft is like pretty close. He's just one of my favorite people. I love him. I think he's a beautiful, gentle soul who loves Jesus Christ. And so looking forward to having him on the show again, hopefully, please God, soon. And that's what I would say about that. Peter Kraft, my wife. Chloe Cole, I think that was last year, having her share her story as a detransitioner. I think that was really powerful. Have I ever been in the middle of a conversation where I thought my guest was making up stuff? No. But what do I know? Maybe they were. Actually, I think the opposite has actually happened. Running this show and getting to have conversations with people, sometimes well-known people, I've actually had the opposite experience of what many people talk about, right? Many people talk about never meeting your heroes or never meet anybody who's influenced you because you're going to be disappointed. That's not happened to me. What I find, and maybe it's because of the long-form discussion format, I actually really like the people that I talk to, and I find that I like them even more than when I begun. There hasn't been one person. I want to see if this is true. I cannot think of one person that I've interviewed who I've thought, gee, that person's not really great in real life. Every single one of them has been like really lovely. So that's what I'd say about that. Christian P says, if you could have one tame exotic animal as a pet, what would it be and why? So I'm sure I could come up with a cooler animal, but the very first thing that comes to mind is a gang cockatoo. I'd like you to go look that up right now while you're listening to this. Open up a new tab, gang cockatoo. The male specifically, they have this beautiful red head with a lovely crest and a dark gray body. And the reason I say I would like a gang cockatoo is that when I was about 7 years old, my dad, who loved birds, had a beautiful Australian bird book. And I was looking through it, and when I came across the gang cockatoo, I started to cry. And I cried because I thought it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. And I just love that story of 7-year-old Matt Fradd crying over a bird because he thought it was so beautiful. So that is the bird that I would like to have as a wild animal. Now, I think someone sent us a super chat earlier, so I don't want to be rude and miss that. I apologize if I've missed it. Oh, here you go. Parker Manning says, Mr. Fradd, I've got a new book with Catholic Answers coming out this year. I'd ask that you and the audience members pray for me as I go through this process. God bless you. You know what I've started doing, because maybe it's like you, I have a lot of people who ask me to pray for them, and I really want to do that intentionally. So one thing I've started doing is at the end of every night, I pray at least one rosary a day, sometimes multiple, but I try to always pray the Holy Rosary with my wife and kids each night. And so now what I've done is when people like Parker ask me to pray for them, I just immediately give that over to our Blessed Virgin Mary. And then when I go to the rosary, I offer it up for everybody I said that day that I would pray for them. And I trust that even if I'm forgetting that person and their intention during the actual rosary, I've already given it to our Blessed Mother. So I will offer a rosary for you tonight. Okay, we have AD the Tree says, pray for Chloe Cole. She's coming to speak at my university campus. Yes, I will add her to my rosary tonight. That's really beautiful. Oh man, I love Chloe. She's a beautiful woman. Crusader of Christ says, you look awesome with a beard. Okay, appreciate that. I no longer have that, obviously, but there you are. Catholic Powered says, I keep praying to God to relieve me of my addiction to self-pleasuring. I feel so alone, like he has abandoned me and I don't know what to do. First of all, thank you for being so vulnerable, and what a beautiful thing to say, not because you're committing this sin, but because you're willing to be vulnerable. I believe that the heart of Jesus Christ is the only refuge big enough and safe enough for our own wretched little hearts. But that what we often do is seek out false refuges that promise us safety, but actually deceive us. I think pornography and self-abuse are definitely false refuges. It reminds me, actually, I think it was this morning, the first reading. I might be wrong about that, but the first reading where God says, my people have committed two evils. It was Sunday. They have abandoned me, the font of living water, and they have built cisterns for themselves. And then he says, broken cisterns which don't hold any water. And I think that's so true of us. We don't trust that the Father loves us, that he has affection for us, that we can actually relax in his gaze. If we can relax in the gaze and in the attention of anyone, it is the loving Father who knows everything about us and cherishes us, and who went to the cross and rose from the dead in order to open heaven under our feet because he desires all men to be saved. Like, he is someone before whom we can relax, even in our poverty. It's almost like by his death and resurrection, he's given us the right to be poor before him. He has shown us that his name is mercy and that we can trust in him. But all right, I think we often do create these false refuges, these broken cisterns, and we go to them and we try to be safe. And I think we often go to them to sort of self-medicate, or to regulate our emotional turbulence. So if we feel rejected, or if we feel like a loser, or if we feel criticized and we just don't know what to do with that agitation, we end up turning to those things that we have habituated ourselves to turn to when we feel like that. What to do? There are the obvious things to do that all of us know about. Like, don't be watching television shows that have sexually explicit scenes in them at all under any circumstances. Don't be listening to music that condones that sort of stuff. Don't be engaged in conversations with people that talk that kind of filth. Diverting our eyes when we are tempted to lust. All of these things, I hope, and I'm sure you're already doing. But one thing for me that I think became helpful was learning just to sit before the presence of my loving Father and to receive his affection for me. I realized that it was actually really easy for me to receive his criticism. And I'm not saying he was critical of me, but just that I would feel more comfortable if he said to me, you're a loser. What are you doing with yourself? Look how many gifts I've given you. You're squandering them. You're so bad at this. What are you doing? It's almost like if the Father said that to me, that would be like a comfy pair of jeans. They were just, I like that. And I thought to myself, that's kind of weird, because you would think that you would rather hear from the Father just words of love and affection, but I just couldn't do that. And I got up early the other day and I was sitting down and I was doing my mental prayer. And by mental prayer, I just mean sort of communing with the Lord internally. And I heard the Lord say to me, Matthew, I love you and you're doing a good job and I'm so proud of you. And everything within me recoiled. Like I did not want to hear that, which again is interesting. And it was as if the Holy Spirit was like, okay, look at that. That's weird, right? Like, why are you doing that? And over the course of a couple of days, I just learned to trust it, right? Because I think part of our fear is if I receive his affection, if he speaks kindly to me like that and I receive it, then what would possibly motivate me, to try harder? But I think it's actually the opposite that's the case. When I realize, man, all of my strength is weakness, and I am dependent upon the good God for everything, and that I can have this kind of confidence in him. All right, when I do that, then I'm actually a lot more trusting of him, and I find that I'm actually able to be a lot more at peace, a lot more loving to those around me, a lot more compassionate. All right. On the flip side, when I have this this idea that I've got to figure it out on my own, so that God will love me, which of course is not a Christian idea, but it's a heresy that I'm kind of adopting. When I act like that, I think one or two things will happen. One, I'll believe that, hey, I have kind of got myself together. Look at me, which would lead me to pride. And of course, it's godless. It's all about me and what I can do. Or I'll fall into despair. So, friend, I would say this to you. Turn toward the loving Father and say, I thank you that you love me, and more than that you like me, and that you desire my holiness. And I thank you that you will bring it about and that you are bringing it about. You are my strength. I trust in you. I want this no longer to be a part of my life. Please guide me and help me to love you more, and help me to receive your affection for me. Amen. All right. Much more could be said, but that might be a start. Oh man, so many people are writing. Thanks for the super chat, Lucas. He says, hey Matt, can you consider inviting Joshua Charles from Eternal Christendom? Greetings from Poland. I think what's so difficult is that I get multiple emails a day from people I've never heard of asking to be on the show, sometimes 5 to 10 emails a day. And so a while ago, we just sort of made the decision that we just can't keep up with this. And so sometimes we do take suggestions, but sometimes it's just too much for us. So, but thank you for the suggestion. JD Rahal says, Joe Rogan just tweeted a video on Shroud of Turin. I saw that actually. It popped up in my feed, and I don't know who the fella is who is his guest, but he talked about going down a rabbit hole watching videos about the Shroud of Turin. I'm fairly confident he watched the one I did, because the 3-hour plus interview I did with Father Andrew Dalton has well over 3 million views right now. I think it's one of the ones that comes up immediately once you start watching it. So looking for that kind of thing. So please God, and that's really beautiful. It's been really interesting to see Rogan becoming increasingly, how should you say it, less, just less hostile towards Christianity. I'm happy to have seen that. Sean says, when are you going to start translating your videos into other languages? That is something we keep thinking about. I just want to make sure I do it right. So we'll see, but thank you. Is there anybody you've interviewed and thought to yourself, gee, that person isn't great in real life? All right, listen, here's what I think. I think that, can I tell you how to grow a YouTube channel? I'm going to do that for you right now, okay? If you're a Catholic and you want to start a YouTube channel and you want it to take off, here's what you do. Start it and then start criticizing other Catholics by name. Personally attack them. If you do that, great news. Your YouTube channel will skyrocket. So there you go. There's some wisdom for you. The problem is, you might go to hell. And the problem is you kind of trade in your soul. Now, I say this as somebody who has been critical of people on my show in the past, and I've actually repented of this a few times and regretted it as soon as I did it. Now, I'm not saying, when for example, the McCarrick scandal comes out and people are talking about it and we continue to talk about it or something like that. Fair enough. But I just really feel called by the Holy Spirit to remove from my mouth any criticism of anybody, ever. That's what I feel called to. Of my beautiful children, of my wife, of the people I interact with. It's so fleshly, it seems to me, to waste time in criticism. How easy is it, right? When you criticize someone, the narrative is you're the good guy, they're the bad guy. And in your criticism, you're inviting people to agree with you, essentially, that you're the good guy and they're the bad guy. And the reason you're the good guy is because you're not like the bad guy whom you're criticizing. And look, hold me accountable to this, because I'm weak, and maybe in 10 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 week from now, I'll forget about this kind of resolution that I've made, and I'll begin to kind of go after people, but I don't want to do it. And I don't think you should do it either. So yes, I was being sarcastic when I said here's a great way to grow your YouTube channel. So I'm not going to answer that question. Renwin says, did you shoot an episode with Apostate Prophet? Yes, I did. And he was absolutely delightful. And I'm excited for that to come out. We have a couple of episodes coming out on Islam, and I think you'll really enjoy them. Curdled Frog, fair enough, says, Pints was a big part of me returning to Christ and his church. I was confirmed last year. I'll keep falling deeper in love with him. Thank you, Matt. God bless you, Curdled Frog. That's beautiful. All right, man, we get a lot of... John asks, any views on... All right, so that would be an example. All right, so there's a question here, and even though it's a super chat, I'm not going to read it, because the super chat is an indictment of another YouTuber. And I don't know a thing about it. And all I know is my personal interactions with this person is that they're terrific. But I don't know. And I'm not going to read it because I don't want to be critical of other people. So thank you for the super chat. True Catholic 1 says Pope Gregory the 18th is the Pope. Nope. Yeah, and so people are asking me in here for my opinions on certain public personalities, and yeah, I'm just not I don't want to do it. And you can't make me. And I can't make you. Isn't that nice? You know, there is a distinction that needs to be made that often Catholics aren't aware of, Catholics and everybody else, between detraction and slander. Right? So detraction happens when I say something that's actually true about you, but it damages your name. And so maybe the thing that you did was actually kind of gross or wrong or bad, and I bring it up, and in so doing, I have kind of maybe no right to share it, or there's no moral obligation for me to share it. It doesn't kind of build up the body of Christ. That's detraction, right? Slander is when I say something false about somebody else. And if you're interested in knowing the distinction, slander has the L in it, so you know it's a lie. Detraction has the T there, and that's how I memorize the difference, if that helps you. But I don't want to do that, and you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to do that either. One of the things I've been telling myself lately is there's enough people out there covering things like church politics and ecclesial disputes and in-house fighting, and all right, like, I don't need to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't think that's my calling to do that, and we should be very bloody careful, I would say, before we start doing stuff like that. So that's what I got to say. Sips with Serra, it's lovely to see you. I'm going to throw you up on screen because I want people to go check you out. Sips has a sweet YouTube channel. Look at that. We'll put it over here. I'll give my opinion so Matt doesn't have to. Ruslan is awesome and he's done nothing wrong. Okay. There you are. Go check out Sips with Sarah's YouTube channel. You're doing really great, mate. Like, it's getting better and better every time I stumble across it. Oh, that's a nice thing to say. Guess Who says, here's a super chat for having the integrity to not speak ill of others. Yeah, and as I say, when I forget that I made this resolution, y'all will remind me, and we'll just kind of advance together. Wouldn't that be beautiful if we could all just try to get better at that? Who is your favorite Protestant apologists? I mean, I have a soft spot for Dr. William Lane Craig because he was so helpful for me back in the day when the new atheism craze was at fever pitch, and I was grateful to see him absolutely dismantle atheists. That was fun. I like Gavin Ortland a lot as a person, as a friend. I have respect for him. Clearly, what you're not asking me is, do I agree with him? Obviously, I don't agree with Gavin Ortland on his take on Catholicism, nor do I agree with Dr. Craig's take on Catholicism, but I do admire them because of Craig's work with theistic apologetics. And Gavin's just a good dude. I mean, I've met him a couple of times. I've had him in studio, and I've really enjoyed him. So those would be a couple. I mean, there's many more, isn't there? But we'll leave it at that. Fair enough. So, Yevgeny, Evgeny, man, forgive me for not knowing how to say your beautiful name. Instead of criticisms of others, why don't you share that whiskey with us? So I would if I could, but I can't, so I won't. But last night I did have whiskey with Tammy Peterson, and that was really fun. I didn't know, she was like, are you going to give me some whiskey? I'm like, all right. So we got to sit down. Again, another part of our double date that was weird. My wife and Jordan, and again, just so you remember, I will be uploading this image to Instagram, and I'm going to ask you to meme that image. Best meme wins a free beer Stein, and I will send it to you, and I'll even pay for shipping. I'm going to add this caveat. If you live in the United States. If you don't, I'll still give you the free beer Stein, but you have to pay for shipping because I don't know how much it costs me to send stuff to Yemen or something. Crusader of Christ says, as a father, what is the best way to secure the salvation of your children? Love them well, be attentive to them, and pray for them daily. That's a start, hey? Like when I get home, I want my kids to know I'm looking at them in the eye, that I care about them, that I care about their interests. I think there's a temptation, to not really love our children's interests because we feel like they should be interested in loftier things, or maybe we're embarrassed that, hey, our kid is into Minecraft. I wish he was reading Shakespeare by candlelight. Okay, well, get over yourself. It's not about you. Maybe condescend to your children's level and take delight in what they delight in. And that isn't to say don't put up necessary ground rules around video games or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But I don't want my children to feel dismissed by me, and I don't think you want that either. I think we want our children to know that we love them, that we want to see why they take delight in the things that they delight in, even if we don't delight in them. And then, praying the Holy Rosary. Like one thing I try to do is 5 decades on the Rosary, and so that's my wife and my 4 children. I just offer it up for their salvation. You could do something like that. And then just keep communication open with them, just like Christ is who you look to if you want to know what the Father is like, you try to be what Christ is like. So when they look at you, they know what Jesus is like. He's just kind and merciful. He believes in what they can be. He calls out sin, but he's charitable, all that kind of stuff maybe. What do you think? Oh my goodness, there's so many. Bless you guys. Mr. Lepanto says, Matt, you were originally going to speak, and thank you for the super chat, by the way, at the Live Action Summit. It was a super awesome event. I'm so sad that I couldn't be there. My wife has been having a lot of health issues again, and so I couldn't come for that reason. But I'm really glad to hear it went well. Maria Mitchell, who's like one of the most beautiful people in the world, is in the live chat, and I'm so honored, and she said this. Love to you and Cameron. You and the fam have had to rebuild from moves a lot. Do you have tips on building community or insights you've learned along the way? I don't think I've got anything worth listening to at this point in my life, but I don't know. I think you have different stages in life as well, don't you? It depends. Are you single? Are you married? Are you newly married? How old are your kids? How much do you enjoy your spouse? I mean, there's all sorts of things to factor in. I would say I'm currently at the stage in life where I just like being home with my wife and children. And I don't actually have much of a yearning for like brotherhood and Bible studies with other men in the mornings. And, you might say, well, maybe you should. And I don't know how to decide whether that's true or not. I'm not kind of worried about it too much. Obviously, I want to have good men in my life who I can turn to, who I have coffee with occasionally. And I have that. But I don't know. I just love hanging out with my wife and my kids. And so that's what I'm doing. But one way we built community earlier in our marriage is that we would have these monthly potluck dinners. And this was an idea given to me by Annie and Kana Hickman, who live in Houston, who I love, good friends of mine. And they do this weekly. But basically, you invite everyone to come over with their families, and the only requirement is they bring something to share. So they bring a meal or a bottle of wine or a bottle of whiskey or some dessert or what have you. And the only prayer that you pray is grace. Prayer is good, but the reason we're doing this is for fellowship. And I remember we did that. We had over 100 or 200 people come to our house at different occasions, and we would just be together. I think you open up your house and you say, hey, everyone's invited. I'm not saying it's not without its crosses, because sometimes it can be a little crazy. Like, so we did this in San Diego, and the first week we did it, we had more children than parents, and these beautiful children like destroyed our house. And when I say destroyed our house, I mean there were actually pieces of furniture after that one night we had to throw away. And so we were like, we cannot do this. We just can't. And so we had to go, okay, look, if you've got a breastfeeding kid, they can come, but we're so sorry. Like, we just ask that the other kids not come, find a babysitter. And then, I don't know. So that was one thing that we did, I think, that helped grow community, which I enjoyed. Zachary Harvey, nice to see you, and thank you for the $10 super chat. Says, I recently saw that you met up with Father David Michael. We are friends from childhood, and he did both my and my sister's wedding. Great to see his rise. Looking forward to an episode with you all soon. I was shocked at how awesome Father David Michael was. I don't mean shocked because I thought he wouldn't be awesome, but just I really enjoyed him. A humble soul, just so kind, so normal. So we're going to try to get him on the show, and I'd love to have him on the show. It was a real joy. Before I continue on, I want to remind people that next month is the last month that you can get a free Pints with Aquinas beer stein. Please become a member, an annual member, over at mattfrad.locals.com. When you do, you'll get our interviews 1 week before they hit YouTube. You'll get to be part of an amazing community. You'll get to be part of these online mini courses that we've created on the Lord of the Rings, on the papacy, on all sorts of things beside. Dr. Ed Fazer taught a 5-part video course on Thomas Aquinas' 5 ways. All that content is only available over on Locals. We have all sorts of things over there, and but this is the last month. April is the last month. You can get a free Pints with Aquinas beer stein. So you've got to sign up now, or in April, you've got to become an annual supporter, and we will send you this. You just have to pay for shipping. We will take care of the beer stein itself, but come May, that will no longer be available as a perk, because it does cost us a ton of money. These are really good quality beer steins, so please consider becoming a member over at mattfrad.locals.com. I really appreciate that. Samuel Varg says, what happened to that mustache? I'm sorry to disappoint everybody. Maybe I'm thrilling some people. By the way, there's like 3 or 4 episodes left in the bank with me and the mustache, so you'll get to see it. It'll just be this weird thing where you're like, here it is, there it goes, here it is, there it goes. I don't know. I get bored of these things, and so that's why I just got rid of it. Where is the beer stein made? The beer stein is made in America for sure. I want to say Pennsylvania, but it's not there, so I can't tell you. Christopher Havis gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you. He says, greetings from Kansas. Advice for finding a new church to attend and participate in. I mean, I don't know. Just try them out. I just think that we live in a day and age where people want their faith taken seriously. And that means going to a reverent church. So you might have to try a few churches out. But I think what you'll find is where all the young people are going, all the young families are going, is 1,000% going to be a traditional church, whether that be the Latin Mass or the Novus Ordo. So, I mean, that's my suggestion, but I mean, do whatever you want. You have to take into consideration how far you want to drive and things like that. But Chandler says, do you have thoughts on Ave Maria, Florida? Yeah, it seems like an amazing school. I actually met with some of the leadership a couple of years ago when I was giving a lecture there. I was really impressed at their desire to, I think at the time they were trying to get everybody in the school to consecrate themselves to the Blessed Virgin Mary. And I remember going to Holy Mass, and it was actually, it was a Novus Ordo, but it was Ad Orientem, and it was in Latin. It was really beautiful. And I remember seeing one of the sports teams there, like kneeling down to receive the Eucharist. And I just thought, oh, wow, there's a real spirit of prayer here. So, yeah, only good things to say about Ave Maria. from my experience. Micah Price, thanks for the super chat, says, seeing as you enjoy Sabaton, and I do, you will probably appreciate a small channel called Sanctuarium Metal. I recommend. No king but Christ. Amen. Oh, that'll be cool. Thanks. Jordan says, I am a Reformed Baptist. You're my favorite Catholic. May the good Jesus bless you. Excuse me. As you pursue eternal joy in him, Matt. That's very nice of you. Thanks for the kind words. Yes, yes, yes. All right, what else we got here? Nice to see other Sabaton fans here. Austin says, anything from Father Mark Goring conversation, and then it just disappeared, so I need to find that again. Anything from my Father Mark Goring episode. That's what I remember reading. Yeah, by the way, this is this Wednesday. You got to watch it. My interview with Father Mark Goring. What a fella. The real deal. Loves Jesus Christ, loves the church. I've known him for about 20 years. And so it was really great to finally have him in studio. And we talked about everything from, I don't know, charismania to preaching the gospel to technology use. It was a really great conversation. So it's already up right now at mattfrad.locals.com. So when you become an annual supporter, you'll be able to watch it. But you can watch it this Wednesday when it releases. So I hope you will. All right. We have a question here. Hello from Spain. Would love to watch you checking how we celebrate Easter here in southern Spain. I would also love that. I don't know how I would do that, but I would love it. And God bless you for keeping the faith in Spain there. Okay, someone's telling me there's a couple of super chats that I missed, so I am going to do my best. Yeah, I can't see him. I mean, sorry if I've missed your super chat. Yeah, but there you go. That's what I got to say. All right, here's a question from Millbrook. How does a non-Catholic best start pursuing Jesus if the local community and RCIA are not yet available? Yeah, by spending time in the Word, acquaint yourself with the New Testament, read it daily. You could pray the Holy Rosary daily. You could do that. I mean, do one of those things. Wear a crucifix. Tell the Lord Jesus that you love him. You could read good spiritual books. One of my favorite go-to books for Protestants or others who are converting to the Catholic faith would be Trent Horton's Why We're Catholic. You could get that book. Those would be a few things to do, but certainly reading the Holy Scriptures. Yeah. All right, friends, I'm going to go home and be with my family, but I want to thank you for being here. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, would you do that? It's nice to have a lot of subscribers. Not just because it makes me feel good about myself. It's actually because it really helps other people look at the channel and go, this is worth coming on. So when I reach out to bigger names who are becoming Catholic, I won't say who they are, it does help to have a much bigger channel so that they're like, okay, this is worth my time. So please consider subscribing if you like the channel, clicking that bell button, and please say a prayer for me. The end. Glory to Jesus Christ. Glory forever.